All right, we're going to talk about a topic today that is, well, it's incredibly difficult, but it's also something that, unfortunately, many families have to face. Think of this as a simple, clear guide to help you understand wrongful death claims, especially when everything else feels confusing and painful. And that quote, it just says it all, doesn't it? It captures that feeling perfectly. It's more than just grief, it's like the whole world is off kilter. And that's exactly why we're breaking this down, to help you find your footing when legal questions start popping up in the middle of all that chaos. Because what happens very quickly is that this profound sense of loss crashes right into some very real, very practical problems. All of a sudden, you're looking at medical bills, funeral expenses, and maybe the most terrifying of all, the loss of an income your family absolutely depended on. It's just so much to handle at once. So that brings us to a really crucial question. When is a tragic death considered wrongful in the eyes of the law? The term itself can sound a little intimidating, but the actual idea behind it is pretty straightforward. Here it is, the core definition. The two words to really focus on are carelessly and failed to act responsibly. See, this isn't just about a random, unavoidable accident. It's about a death that could have been and should have been prevented if somebody had just done their job or acted with basic care. It really all comes down to accountability. So, if you want to cut through all the legal talk, this is the one question to ask. It's kind of a litmus test. If you can look at the situation and honestly say, yes, they would still be here today if that doctor or that driver or that company had just done the right thing, well, then you might be looking at a wrongful death case. And these situations, they happen more often than we'd like to think. We're talking about things like a terrible car crash caused by someone who was texting and driving, or a devastating mistake made by a medical professional. It could be an unsafe construction site that cut corners on safety, or a product that malfunctioned, or even just horrible neglect at a nursing home. The story is different each time, but the root cause is the same. Somebody failed to be responsible, and the consequences were tragic. Okay, this is where a lot of families get hesitant, and that's totally understandable. But it's really helpful to reframe what a lawyer's role is here. They aren't just there to start a fight. Think of them more as a professional guide, someone whose job it is to lead you through all this complexity at a time when you're least equipped to handle it yourself. And it's a great question, right? Because what we see on TV is always some dramatic courtroom scene. But the truth is, the most important work a lawyer does usually happens way before anyone ever steps foot in a courtroom. This slide does a great job of showing the contrast between the fear and the reality. While you're worried about court and stress and costs, a good lawyer is quietly taking all of that off your plate. They're the ones talking to the insurance companies, who, let's be honest, are trying to pay out as little as possible. They're gathering evidence, and they're calculating the true long-term financial loss, which is something no grieving family should have to figure out on their own. So, who can actually start this process? Now, the exact rules can change a little from state to state, but generally, it's the immediate family. We're talking about the surviving spouse, children, or sometimes the parents of the person who passed away. In some situations, anyone who was financially dependent on them or a person appointed to represent the estate can file the claim for the family. All right, let's talk about what the path forward actually looks like. What does justice mean in these cases? It's really about two things: getting fair compensation to secure the family's future and understanding the steps of the legal process so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. A lot of people think this is just about covering the funeral, but it goes so much deeper. As you can see, a huge chunk is for economic losses. That's the tangible stuff, like the income they would have earned for the rest of their life. But look at how big that other piece is, for emotional and personal loss. That's the law's way of trying to recognize the immense value of the lost companionship, the love, the guidance. That small slice for punitive damages? That's different. It's meant to punish the wrongdoer for truly reckless behavior and to make sure it never, ever happens again. The journey itself isn't as scary as it sounds. It almost always follows these 5 steps. It all starts with just a conversation, a free, confidential one. Then, the lawyer does the heavy lifting, investigating, gathering evidence, filing the official claim. The most critical part is often the negotiation phase. The vast majority of these cases are actually resolved right there, with a settlement that the family agrees is fair. Going to a full-blown trial is actually pretty rare. And this table shows you exactly why most families prefer a settlement. It's faster. We're talking months instead of years. It's way less stressful. But the biggest factor? Control. With a settlement, the family makes the final decision.
In a trial, you're putting your future in the hands of a judge or jury, and, well, you just never know for sure what will happen. For most people, getting closure sooner is what matters most. This brings us to what might be the single most important choice a family has to make in all of this. How do you find the right person, the right advocate to guide you? Because not all lawyers are created equal, and finding the right fit is absolutely essential. So what should you be looking for? First and foremost, you need a specialist, someone who has specific experience with these exact kinds of cases. Don't be afraid to ask. Then just listen to how they talk. Do they explain things clearly without a ton of legal jargon? And really importantly, you want someone who works on a contingency fee, which is a huge deal, and we'll talk about that in just a second. I love this tip. It's so simple, but it's so incredibly powerful. That first phone call tells you almost everything. Do you feel like they're really listening to you, like you're a human being? Or do you feel like you're just another case file on their desk? You have to trust your gut on this one. And here we are, the million-dollar question that's on everyone's mind. How could we possibly afford this? The answer is the contingency fee. It means you pay absolutely nothing upfront. Zero. The lawyer's fee is just a percentage of the final settlement or award they win for you. And if they don't win your case, you don't owe them a fee. It's a system designed to make sure everyone has access to justice, no matter what their bank account looks like. Lastly, let's quickly run through a few critical mistakes to avoid. Number 1, waiting too long. There are strict deadlines, and if you miss them, you can lose your rights completely. Number 2, talking to the insurance company by yourself. Their adjusters are trained to get you to say things that can hurt your case. And probably the most common mistake of all, accepting that first quick settlement offer they throw at you. It is almost always a lowball offer. Avoiding these traps is exactly why having a good advocate in your corner is so important. So we'll end with this question. When a tragedy happens, it's so easy to feel powerless. But the one thing you can do today is to get good advice. Just having one confidential conversation with an experienced professional can give you the answers you need and put a layer of protection around your family. It's the first step